Welcome back to TMBS. I'm Matt Leck. With me is Leisha Brooks and David Griscom. And rejoining us is one of the all-time TMBS guests, Milton Allimadi. He's the founder of Black Star News, host of Black Star News Radio at WBAI. Also the founder of the Africa History Club on Patreon, which I am a member of, and everybody should check that out. He's an adjunct professor at John Jay University. And you can find him at Milton or at Allimadi on Twitter. Milton, thanks for joining us.
No, my pleasure. I really enjoy our conversations on this unique platform.
Yeah, and we definitely want to keep that going. And I think our conversations with you are some that I think the first 3 years of this show are some that I've valued. And I mean, even going back and returning to some of those, like the Thomas and Carr episodes, really, really great listening. So a lot of good stuff in the archive.
Thank you so much.
Before we get to discussing Africa specifically, I wanted to give you the chance to react to the Kenosha shooting and what we saw with, the multiple shooting by Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha following the killing of Jacob Blake.
Well, I mean, I don't even know whether we should say anybody's surprised, right, by such incidents. It's just the continuing narrative of what we're seeing. And, the only thing that I want people to reflect upon is that, imagine if we had people with their mobile phones with cameras all these years, what I think about most is, what type of atrocities have we not seen through the years? That to me is the key question. And it doesn't mean they cannot be unearthed at some point. I mean, right now we have to deal with the immediate issues. But as somebody who's been in journalism for many years as well, almost going on 30 years now, I am willing to bet that a good investigative journalism team, if we're to study police departments all over the country and to go into the police files, because normally they keep records of incidents, whether they distort it, they lie about it. I mean, they lie about it even when it's caught on camera, right? So if you went into these files, you are going to find so many atrocities that were never properly reported. We only see these incidents now because people are able to record them, like George Floyd, for example. Had those bystanders not be there, we would never have known of that horrific, brutal public execution, right? That has now really generated all these protests we've seen all over the country and all over the world. So in that sense, Kenosha is not unique. What is unique is now it's occurring at a time where at the same time we have this reactionary, racist president who's promoting animosities because he perceives that as the best way for him to maintain the support of his base through the 4 years that he's been president, and now as his best chance to get reelected. He's actually praying for such incidents to erupt again. And beyond praying, this is pure speculation, but I would not be shocked to find out that this individual in the White House is in touch with some elements of police departments who are in touch with elements of these terrorist militias. So people like Kyle Rittenhouse don't just come out of the blue. Think about it. He must have been in conversation with some people, including adults. First of all, he was driven by an adult, right? By his mother. But in addition to that, who else is he in the conversation with? Who is his mother in conversation with? So I suggest all this to say that we're living at a very dangerous moment when there seems to be, or there might be, a collaboration between police officers who are supposed to enforce the law and maintain order, and elements of the extreme militias, right, terrorists, and perhaps the individual in the White House, or at least people connected with him. So in a broad sense, that is my view on that incident. And I wouldn't be shocked if before the election we see something else erupt. Because I believe if he's not, the man in the White House, if he's not directly involved in instigating, but at least exacerbating some of these incidents, I think he's giving enough signal by his reaction and lack of reaction to these incidents to even encourage and promote additional incidents. So that's why it's very worrying.
Yeah, we've talked about the term stochastic terrorism on this program before. Basically, the idea that as long as you keep raising the pressure on the situation, it can incite these sort of instances without you having to explicitly order them.
Absolutely, by just saying that. I mean, for example, when you come out and you say, you know, Rittenhouse was defending himself, he was not taking a stroll on a Sunday morning and just suddenly people started chasing him. He'd already killed somebody and they were trying to apprehend him. So you can't make it appear as if there was no connection with what he had just done and no connection with everything else that is occurring. But you notice how they highlight the arsonists, the rioters. Those are not even veiled language to demonize, you know, everybody who's showing up at the protest. But when you send those code words, it particularly isolates and demonizes people of African ancestry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems the rioter canard seems to be something you see in protests just throughout time. Like, oh, well, you have these protests here, but on the other hand, you have rioting, and so maybe we need to disregard these protests.
Exactly. And what is being lost is that these are actually multi-ethnic, and I hate to use the word race, because when we go about it scientifically, you know, there's only one race, right? But, you know, for lack of a better way to explain it, it's multiracial as well, multi-generational. These protests have been, but by always using those code words, rioters, arsonists, they have a specific segment of the population that they want to isolate and demonize, particularly as we go into the election, to Donald Trump's base.